going to win this weekend between TCU and North Carolina? And how will the Big 12 shake out in 2026? Let's join ESPN Central Texas to give you the complete whip around that you need in a bonus episode of Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Tuesday afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. It's here. College football season's here. And I joined our friends with ESPN Central Texas, Ward and Aaron, to answer the questions that you need to know about the Big 12 this week. No clickbait. No expansion this, expansion that. No. Here are the questions that everyday Big 12 fans are asking about the conference in 2026 and a whip around that you need to know. If you hit subscribe, I get to keep my job. All right, I've delayed it already too much. Come on, guys. Let's do it.
Drake, how we doing? Appreciate the time.
Ward, the pina coladas are cold, the manatees are swimming through the rivers of Savannah, Georgia, and TCU is about to kick Bill Belichick's teeth in. It's a good week.
It is a good week, and let's start right there with Big 12 football and TCU getting the first run out of the gate. And how confident are you in the TCU Horned Frogs, or are you just that much less confident in North Carolina?
Yeah, I think TCU is an 8-4 team this year, a 9-3 team. And I don't think that's going to shock anybody when I say that, right? They've kind of fallen back into this consistency under Sonny Dykes where, you know, and even with Dykes calling plays, TCU is going to be a team that you don't want to play, but at the same time, you know it's a winnable game when you face off against the Horned Frogs. They were 9-4 last season after winning a bowl game, the Alamo Bowl, to beat USC. North Carolina was 4-8, and TCU beat North Carolina 48-14 in Carolina's house. TCU comes into this season with a new quarterback. No more Josh Hoover. He's moved on to Indiana. But I like what Jaden Craig brings you out of Harvard. If you look at the deep analytics, the deep stats, he was third in the country in the FCS in big play throws. And that's, if you look at his tape from last year, when the moment was biggest, Jaden Craig was kind of a name to know across the FCS, which was rare. It's kind of unique for Harvard to have a football player, a quarterback, be such a standout in the modern era, and that was the case for the Crimson last year. Now he brings that moxie to TCU against the North Carolina team that just now named their starting quarterback. I think he's the X factor for the Horned Frogs. On top of that, Carolina was 120th in college football last year offensively. The TCU Horned Frogs will put up 31, 35, 42 points in this game. If North Carolina is even sniffing that against the Frogs, there are some serious foundational issues with the defense for TCU. And while I do have question marks about the Frogs defense, there's just no way that they are putrid enough to allow such a bad offense in North Carolina to show up and have a day in Dublin on Saturday. TCU -7. They're only 7.5 point favorites. I'm going to take that all the way to the bank.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, the line on it is 7.5 right now. I see TCU better than that over North Carolina. One, because of what you just said. North Carolina's offense is absolutely negative. They can't move the ball at all. And TCU, if they just don't get in their own way, should probably run away with this thing.
Yeah, I think so. And to your point, when you say that North Carolina's offense is negative, it's kind of hyperbolic, right? But it's legitimate. If you look at North Carolina's EPA, their efficiency per play last year, they were at a net of -0.03. They were negative efficient. That's hard to do for a college football team, is to be negatively. That is what we call in the industry inefficient. And North Carolina was that last year. You hit the nail on the head that if TCU play, and so that's where another piece of this, if TCU plays its game, and that's kind of cliche, but it works for the Frogs. If they play their game and don't freak out, I mean, you're in Dublin, you're playing Bill Belichick, the guy's got 6 Super Bowl rings, and if you just don't freak out, you're going to be fine. Last year, I thought TCU was in a bend and break situation when against North Carolina in Chapel Hill, the Frogs immediately went down 7-0, and I thought, oh, geez, Could this be another situation where people remember Deion's first game at Colorado was against TCU? He beat the Horned Frogs and shocked the country. I thought, man, are they going to do this again, except this time against Bill Belichick in North Carolina? The answer obviously was no. If TCU even gets down 7 or 10 points in a funky game in Dublin, Ireland, as long as they stay level-headed and play their game, again, cliche but purposefully, the Horned Frogs will be just fine and still win by double digits.
And if you're in this game, too, I think you have to also keep in mind, and I think it's worth mentioning to your team, whether you're North Carolina or TCU, the team that has lost this game over the past couple of seasons has come out of there and been miserable for the first half of the season. You certainly don't want to lay that at your doorstep.
No, and this dates back to when Nebraska lost to Northwestern and last season when Iowa State and Kansas State went at it. And after the game, the Wildcats starting quarterback, Avery Johnson, his dad and brother got into a fight in a puddle outside the stadium. You don't ever want to be overseas. Number one, you don't just period. And two, you don't ever want to lose overseas, have to come back and reset your college football season, no matter who it's against in the weeks to follow. It's already a bad idea to me to have these games across the pond. And I just don't think, Ward, anybody's waking up in Dublin, Ireland thinking, man, I'm a big TCU fan now. It doesn't work that way. This isn't going to grow the game into an international space that, college football needs to succeed long term. And so as a piece of that, I think ultimately we're wasting time and resources and burying the teams that lose these games. If TCU does lose, it becomes a detriment to their 2026 season. It's so hard to hit the reset button after you go to Dublin or after you go to London. And while I don't like this game, it's still going to happen on Saturday. These two teams are still going to square off, and it is even more vital, like you mentioned, for TCU to win because, number one, tough to reset your schedule, win or lose. Number two, if you lose, you're doomed. History has told us you're doomed if you do not win in Ireland. Today's show is brought to you by Kalshi. Before the season even kicks off, everyone's making predictions. Who wins the division? Who makes the playoffs? Who's lifting the trophy at the end of the year? On Kalshi, America's #1 prediction market platform, you can trade all those predictions in a live market. Will the Rams make the Super Bowl? Right now, LA is trading at 25% probability, meaning a $100 trade would pay out $400 if they go to the Super Bowl. Aaron Donald's coming back. Myles Garrett's in the fold. Jackson Smith and Jigba, Matthew Stafford. I think the Rams, Trent McDuffie, the Rams are going to the Super Bowl. I can win $400 on that right now if the Rams go to the Super Bowl. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house, and as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position, trade the draft pick, the game, and more on Kalshi. Download the Kalshi app. Use code LOCKEDON to get $10 off when you get just get $10 when you trade $10. Just $10. KALSHI, Kalshi. Trade on anything. 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Kalshi products are not available in all jurisdictions. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory with Kalshi.
Drake Toll, Locked On Big 12, with us in the press box here on this Monday. And let's look at the rest of the Big 12. And Baylor gets some good news with a couple additions into that defensive line room. And it may be one of the best defensive lines, at least on the surface, in the Big 12. How much does that turn things for Dave Aranda and the Bears to have that? And then, oh, by the way, an NFL scout just gushing over DJ Lagway.
Yeah, I think that the deeper we get in the offseason, the more I feel like Baylor is winning. And Ward, Aaron, you guys can attest to this. When I was in the building at ESPN Central Texas, I felt like Dave Aranda wasn't the right option as the head coach and that ultimately Baylor needed to make a move. And so if anybody's been a dissenter of the Aranda era, it's me. But he's brought me back around and given me hope. If you're a Baylor fan, I think you should carry hope and carry hope unabridged because of a guy like Hosea Wheeler, who's been granted an injunction to play college football this year and to build on the defense of the Baylor Bears. You should have hope because the defensive line looks so promising, because NFL scouts are high again on DJ Lagway. I think for Lagway, he needed a change of scenery, a change of coaching staff. He needed a guy like Jake Spavital who could open up the offense to allow the kid to just play backyard football. Man, the pressure of the SEC, the pressure of Florida, being a 5-star plus kid, it was too much for Lagway, and he was already playing for a football coach who was a lame duck and was going to be fired in Billy Napier at Florida. Now that he's at Baylor, it takes some of the pressure off, and instead of playing Georgia or LSU or Alabama, man, he can get a break by playing a game against Cincinnati or playing a game against a TCU who's just not Georgia, as we know. I think Lagway takes the next step. I think the fact that you have a Hosea Wheeler that can come back and got the injunction on the defensive line, and your defense continues to grow through that Baylor has an opportunity to win 8 or 9 games this year. I don't think a ceiling of 11-1 is possible, but I do think that Baylor being in the 10-win range isn't impossible. That said, as we've seen, anytime Aranda has expectations, the team seems to bottom out. Anytime you're riding off the Baylor Bears, the team seems to win 7 or 8 games. So it's so tough to predict Baylor under Dave Aranda. And I want to go back to when they went 2-7 that first year with, Larry Fedora as offensive coordinator. And then after that year, I think a lot of people picked. It was terrible. Oh, so bad. People pick Baylor to finish, 12th, 13th in the Big 12. I guess that was back in the 10-team era. So, 9th, 10th in the Big 12. And on the bottom half of the conference. And the Bears go out and win the whole thing with a running back who was a former linebacker. And with, Jalen Petrie, the guy who stayed, and so many of these storylines for a Baylor team that won the Big 12 title, won the Sugar Bowl. That's a team that people counted out under Dave Aranda. Maybe there's another spark of miraculous effort from the Bears in 2026.
Drake, also Baylor announced over the weekend that for the Colorado game, they would be wearing what I will only refer to as the J.J. Joe era throwback jerseys. Yeah. I think they're the best looking Baylor jerseys ever. I really wish they would make it the regular home jersey, but at least we get to see those in the Colorado game. They're amazing looking.
Man, a ton of credit to Doug McNamee. And I've got listeners across Locked On Big 12 that root for UCF, root for West Virginia, that root for Arizona State, and they would have no reason to know the athletic director's name at Cincinnati or the AD at Colorado, the AD at Baylor. But I think the name Doug McNamee should start to resonate with Big 12 fans at the very least, because McNamee has showed up and said, you know what? I want to give the fans what they're asking for. And I think I said the same thing last week. It sounds kind of weird to beat the guy while he's down, but when Mack Rhoades was the AD, it was this iron fist regime, and a lot of folks in Waco that I was with and around, like, man, it's kind of hard to operate around Mack, and it's not a very open book. But with Doug, it feels like what the fans want is what he's ready to deliver. And we talk a lot in the Bananas organization, right? That's become such a juggernaut about how attention beats marketing 100% of the time. Baylor's garnered a lot of positive attention through the way that McNamee has handled this administration, through the way he's handled the athletic department. For those who haven't seen the Baylor jerseys, if you haven't, this is a quick Google Baylor throwback jersey, and it's one of the coolest in college football. I know multiple players have talked about wearing it all. See, Dave Aranda, has said, man, I'd wear these every game if we could. To have the kids excited about something, to finally be, the reason that I wanted to go to Baylor was RG3 and the jerseys and the swagger, and everything pointed to Baylor being one of the coolest schools in the country. And after 2016, 2017, they lost that. The luster kind of, it wore away. To feel that again, it's unique. It's different. It's really cool.
Drake Toll with us in the press box here on ESPN Central Texas, talking Big 12. And Drake, when you look at the Big 12 overall, who has the toughest non-conference schedule in your mind?
Yeah, already what sparks are those big matchups that you see from an Arizona State and an Oklahoma State, where you've got the Sun Devils having to play the Texas A&M Aggies in College Station. And to make matters worse, if you're Oregon, even though you played at home, if you're Oklahoma State, I should say, even though you're playing at home, you're playing an Oregon team that might be the best squad in all of college football. Those are tough slates. Colorado has Georgia Tech on the road to open up the season. They also played Northwestern on the road. It's just brutal that the Buffs have to play 2 Power 4 games that are true road games. And that Northwestern contest should be a win, could very well be a win. That said, it's a brand new complex for Northwestern too. They're debuting out in Chicago. That said, it's still Northwestern, right? I think that Colorado could, I don't want to peg that as the tough non-conference game for the Buffs, but man, it is brutal to go 2 true road games against Power 4. Baylor and Auburn neutral site is going to benefit you if you're the Bears, obviously, and I think they've got an opportunity to win that game. I look at an Arizona State who, again, they face an A&M and they face a Hawaii down the line that could end up being an 8 or 9 win team themselves. There are a couple really intriguing matchups in the Big 12 non-conference. BYU and Notre Dame is another you put on that list. It's a mid-season game, though, so you kind of forget about it being. It's not early. We're going to see that when both teams have proven what they look like in 2026. The Big 12 Conference, credit to these ADs, credit to these schools. They have built tough schedules. They have built marquee non-conference games that are interesting. People will turn their eyes to. And I believe the league has a chance to put its money where its mouth is to win some big-time games against SEC, Big Ten opponents. And if they do that in 2026, they'll prove the Big 12 Conference is a part of the Big Three. They're not nearly as far behind the SEC and the Big Ten as so many people suspect.
On the other side of that, Drake, who's carrying the biggest cupcake?
Yeah, Ward, in Texas Tech's case, I know you're a Tech guy, and man, I think every this is going to be tough for Baylor fans to hear. Every Big 12 fan base should be rooting for Texas Tech to win. Like, no, I don't know, they're my rival. In this era of college sports, man, we're a fart away from the Big 12 disbanding. You just saw it for the Pac-12. You need power brokers in the league to win. I'd say the same about Baylor or UCF or Cincinnati or BYU. When teams win, it bolsters what your conference looks like and how your conference competes in the modern era. It makes you legitimate. And for Texas Tech, yes, Abilene Christian, Oregon State, Sam Houston is a pretty easy non-conference slate. No one would play Tech. McGuire said it. He said, I tried. I called every school. I called everybody. And everyone told us no, they wouldn't play us. What do you expect me to do? What do you want me to do? Tech has one of the easiest schedules in the Big 12 Conference, no doubt. I wouldn't apologize, though, because this is what they got stuck with. It's what McGuire wanted to avoid, and he couldn't because nobody wanted to play Tech. They were too scared of another loss on their schedule before the SEC team goes into SEC play. And because of that, the Big 12, Texas Tech is at a disadvantage. That said, if they go 12-0, there's no keeping them out of the college football playoff. I don't think they're going to apologize for an easy non-conference. Today's show is brought to you by Odoo. Look, if you listen to the Big 12 squad every week, you'll notice that we've got great chemistry. Those are my guys. Those are my dogs. How? That chemistry comes from staying connected on a consistent basis. And running a business or running the Big 12 squad is connecting a bunch of systems. And they may not be designed to work together, but with Odoo, they work together seamlessly. It's one app for accounting, inventory, sales, and they all talk to each other. Where Odoo comes in is making everything easy in one place. It's one platform to manage, grow, scale your business. The best organizations know that success isn't about talent. It's about having everyone work toward the same goal. That's true in sports, just like business. One thing that really stands out is how the Big 12 squad, everybody's pulling in the same direction. It's not just one great player, one great coach, one great guy, one great host. It's a coordinated effort across the entire organization to make it successful. Great organizations win because operations matter. And that's why you should get Odoo. Try it for free today at odoo.com/locked on. That's odoo.com/locked on with our friends at Odoo today.
And Drake, that also the non-conference, we've seen like SEC teams just rushing to cancel non-conference games with the Big 12. All the big talk, and they do not want any part of Big 12 teams in non-conference in future schedules because they're canceling them, all of them.
Yeah, they are. And this has been a problem for the Big 12 Conference now for a little bit. That's finally coming to light because they started to stack up. LSU, Arizona State. LSU backed out. Florida, Arizona State. Florida backed out. Alabama, Oklahoma State. Alabama backed out. What you're seeing is SEC schools look across the way and say, if we're going to cancel anything, don't cancel the Mercer game in November. Why don't we cancel the one against Oklahoma State? Why don't we cancel the one against Arizona State? And it hurts the Big 12 Conference that is begging to play these marquee games. I mean, I'm going to repeat that. Alabama and Oklahoma State were set for a home-and-home in non-conference play. You know what that would do for the Big 12, what it would do to elevate the conference if Oklahoma State had that series. That's been canceled now because the Crimson Tide just couldn't handle it because they needed a restructure for a 9-game SEC schedule. And instead of keeping Oklahoma State a marquee matchup up there, they said, we'll play Georgia State for the blind later on in the year. But we can't play Oklahoma State. We can't do it. That is such a brutal look for the SEC, but the attention's not brought on the Southeastern Conference. No, when we talk about this, the national media talks about this. They say, oh, the Big 12's got cupcake schedules. The Big 12 won't schedule anybody. No, we're doing everything we can as a conference to put marquee matchups in front of people. And what's happening is, by and large, those matchups are being ignored by the SEC and the Big Ten, some of the power brokers of college sports, so that they don't have egg on their own face. That is a massive, massive problem, and more attention needs to be brought to it. The Big 12 is doing everything it can to schedule big games and getting thwarted at any and all opportunity.
Drake Toll, Locked On Big 12, with us in the press box here on ESPN Central Texas. And, I don't know how good they're going to be. I don't know how bad they're going to be. I think they're going to be a lot better. But for Oklahoma State and the Cowboys, is there any coach that has got everybody behind him? And I'm talking student body, I'm talking the alumni, the team, and everything, more than Eric Morris. I mean, the guy sits out and shoots armadillos in his front yard, and he is a hero right now in Stillwater.
Welcome back, Mike Gundy. It's like Gundy never left. You went from one coach who was drinking beers and one coach to shooting armadillos. It's perfect for Oklahoma State and what they're trying to build there. And man, for him to move from Denton into Stillwater and try to rebuild that program. Look, for me, I think Oklahoma State will open the year 2-2 with losses to Oregon and West Virginia. I think West Virginia will be much improved this year, but they've got a great opportunity to beat UCF, to beat Colorado. Their Big 12 schedule to beat Iowa State opens up quite a bit. I think they end up beating Houston, which is going to surprise a ton of people. I think they ride that momentum to wins against Arizona State and Kansas toward the end of the year with a loss to Texas Tech. Because of their schedule, Oklahoma State has a clear opportunity to be an 8 or 9 win team, and I foresee them being in that spot. Ward, you and I talked, it would have probably been a month and a half ago, and you asked, Eric Morris, are we blowing this up a little bit too much? And I said, yes. I thought, they're a 6 or 7 win team, but we're probably giving them too much credit. And then I heard him at Big 12 Media Days, and I've seen the video of fall camp, and I've watched Drew Mestemaker tape, and I think, man, this offense, when it catches on, is going to be deadly. And then I looked at the schedule, and I went game by game in the Big 12, released my rankings this week, and I want to reiterate, I think that Oklahoma State, by virtue of the offense they have, by virtue of the schedule they've been given by the Big 12 Conference, is in position to win 8 or 9 games in this league. I would not be shocked in the slightest if they do so. I am buying Oklahoma State in 2026. Yeah, I think TCU rolls in this one, and I don't think that the Carolina Tar Heels are ready offensively in college football in 2026. I'd be surprised if they hit the 20-point mark. I've got TCU winning this one by a final score of 31-17. It's clunky, it's kind of ugly, but college football is back. Frogs roll by 14 points.
I'll take the Frogs as well. I'm going to go 42-7 on the Frogs. So I'll take TCU. Aaron?
Love it.
I'm going to say 34-10 TCU.
All right, TCU.
41-10 TCU.
All right, TCU straight across the board. Drake, what's coming up on Locked On Big 12 and also the Westwood One Morning Show?
Yeah, a lot of talk on Locked On Big 12 about the official and final Big 12 preseason rankings, previews going into the year. I mean, we're going to see it on the gridiron finally, and that's the exciting part. So no more predicting, and we get to the actual games. And so Locked On Big 12, you can find all the Big 12 preseason predictions. Last year, I was really high on Houston, Texas Tech, and BYU. That worked out all right. Hopefully this year the predictions fall the same.
Drake Toll, Locked On Big 12, host of the Westwood Morning Show, and Bananas Baseball with us here in the press box. Drake, have a great week. Appreciate the time as always. We'll catch up on next Monday.
Ward, I've been seeing pictures of you on Facebook. If you could give some of your hair to Aaron, that seems like a fair trade.
How dare you?
There he goes. Drake Toll, Locked On Big 12 with us in the press box.
See you guys.
Stay right there. We'll wrap up hour number 1 next.
Good dudes, man. Always fun. I like these shows to have as a bonus episode, a bonus piece of content to give to you is exactly what I would like to. I mean, I love doing it every week because it's, and those guys are in Waco, so a couple Baylor questions to fight through in there if you need to, but gives you kind of perspective on what the Big 12 should look like going into each week. And so I think I'm going to keep doing this over the course of the year to give you perspective on the league and where the league sits. And man, just good dudes. They're just good dudes to talk to. I worked in that office for a couple years and man, appreciate what they've done for my career. So keep giving back and they keep giving back to me. This has been, it always will be, Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Grande.